What's up? What's up? What's up, people? Lucas Rojas here, coming at you guys with a Raw review, which is a rare case, especially a very rare case in the year 2016, because, man, before last night, the August 29th edition of Monday Night Raw, before last night, Raw was a complete mess, a complete disaster, and a complete waste of time for 3 hours each and every single week. But it's worth talking about right now. And everybody pretty much knows why I'm out here right now saying that. And it's because we have a new Universal Champion in the name of Kevin freaking Owens. And yes, one title change like that, one drastic move like that has changed the complete atmosphere for Monday Night Raw each and every single week. They have finally made it worthy for me to watch and sit through for 3 hours. Well, hopefully, and because this company never lets me down in terms of disappointment, they always do. So let's just hope for the best. But back to Kevin Owens. I mean, this is what needed to happen. Monday Night Raw needed excitement again. They needed to make it watchable because for weeks and months and months and for weeks, it just became this show that was pretty much getting annoying. And I was truly considering starting to DVR Monday Night Raw instead of sit through it for 3 hours live because it wasn't worth my time anymore. But now we have a new a new Universal Champion in Kevin Owens, and everything is right in the world. And the reason why this is the right decision that WWE could have possibly made, the best decision WWE could have possibly made last night, was because nobody wanted to see Seth Rollins as the champion. I'm sorry, but this is a guy who we all witnessed last year, that horrible character of his and the way he was booked week in and week out as the top heel champion for the WWE, and it was a mess. It made me want to puke because he really was disgracing that world championship. And let's be honest, Seth Rollins becoming champion would be underwhelming. I mean, that's not exciting. We've been there, done that. We've seen that already with a guy like Seth Rollins. I mean, he's the last guy who should be walking out with that championship. And then we have Roman Reigns, another guy. And as much as I love Roman Reigns, I have to admit, him becoming champion again just wouldn't do it for me either, because it's like he's already feuded with Seth Rollins. So what? Were we going to continue that? I mean, the only way I would have accepted another Reigns and Rollins feud is if they had done the double turn. Because otherwise, it's just going to be the same old shit. You know, babyface Roman Reigns against heel Seth Rollins. And that sucked. And nobody wants to see Seth Rollins as a heel anymore. I'm sorry, but I'm completely done with that. Which is why I am so happy that the title is not on this guy right now. Because I can't stand that annoying laugh of his. He's just that stupid, robotic heel that WWE loves to create. He's the perfect description of what a generic heel in the WWE is. And then with Roman Reigns, something freshening, something new just needed to happen. It's not anything against Roman Reigns. I actually like Roman Reigns, so I wouldn't have mind if he was the champion, but it's like, who is he going to feud with? That was the question with Roman Reigns, because he's feuded with Seth Rollins already, and really he was the only guy I saw as a threat for Roman Reigns. I mean, I didn't think that they would have Roman Reigns face Kevin Owens or whoever the hell else. It's like pretty much they don't have anybody for Roman Reigns to face. And you get the point. We've been there. We've done that. The brand split has kind of affected things because now both rosters are limited as far as top guys are concerned, and there's only a handful of guys who are actually worthy of being in the main event scene. So there's going to be a few repeat matches. There's going to be a few repeat feuds for the years to come, since the same top guys are going to be on both Raw and SmackDown. It's kind of like that thing that happened in 2009 and 2008 and back in the day, etc., where it was the same guys. But Kevin Owens is a new guy, and he's never been a champion before. He's never been the world champion, and now he is. And this really feels exciting. This really feels refreshing. This creates buzz. This creates excitement. You don't know what to expect next. We're finally looking forward to next week on Monday Night Raw, and it's been a long time since I could say that I'm excited for a Monday Night Raw for the week to come. Because for weeks, they just gave me a reason not to care, not to look forward to anything. But now all is right. All is exciting, and Kevin Owens fits the perfect description of this new era, much like Finn Balor did when he was a champ. But I'll get to Finn Balor in a second. But as far as Kevin Owens is concerned, he's the perfect guy because this is a new era, and he still is a fresh new guy coming off WWE roster last year. So this is exciting. And I think the main thing about all of this is the fact that Kevin Owens is also a guy that we can all relate to, that the fans can get behind. And as weird as it is for me to say that, because technically he's not supposed to be a guy we get behind since he's the heel, but what I'm trying to say is we all can get behind this guy because we can all relate to him. You know, we connect with him in the sense that he's not larger than life, that he's not as big as Roman Reigns as far as physique is concerned. He's not good looking like, you know, anybody else that the WWE loves to make their poster boy. He's just an average guy. And average people like us can look at this guy and think he's the best choice to be champion because he's the closest thing we have as far as a connection is concerned. And the last guy that we drew that connection with was Daniel Bryan or CM Punk. But now we have another guy in Kevin Owens here who adds realism, who adds reality to the mix. And we have a reason to be excited because we all connect with him. We can all see things from his angle, from his point of view. And he's not going to be this champion that's going to try and go out there to be phony every single week. He's going to stay true to himself. He's going to remain loyal to his character. And his character is the best character that WWE has on Monday Night Raw right now. You know, he's the most realistic character we could possibly have in the sense that this guy calls out bullshit when he sees it. He calls out stupidity. He hates stupid, illogical booking angles. You know, this guy, he will put WWE in their place. He will put WWE on notice. And we haven't had a champion like that in years. He's a self-made guy. He's a rebel. He's straight to business, no nonsense kind of guy. He's a trash talker, one of the best trash talkers we have in the WWE right now. We haven't had a champion like this in quite a few years. And I think that's what was missing with the product, was having a guy like Kevin Owens who's outspoken, who speaks his mind, who's not afraid to say things, who can be taken seriously, who's legitimate, because he is legitimate. He looks like a freaking badass. He looked like a badass holding that title last night. It made perfect sense. You know, for the last few years, the champions we've had really were all cartoons. They were, you know, they were fake. It felt disgenuine. It felt forced. But with Kevin Owens, it doesn't feel that way because of his character and because of all the logic surrounding this guy and how much he makes sense, how smart he is, how brilliant he is, how talented he is, you know, how rebellious he is, how tough he is. This is a guy that really feels like he wanted this position, like he wanted to be the top guy. This is a guy who is hungry right now, who's passionate, and is going to deliver some of the best promos for the next few months, depending on how long this title run goes for him. And I hope it's a long time. I hope they don't take the title off of him because he really is the most exciting thing to look forward to on Monday Night Raw these days. And especially now that he's a champion, he is the main reason. He is the main attraction to look forward to Monday Night Raw every week. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be unpredictable because you don't know what to expect from a guy like Kevin Owens. Every week he's going to bring something new to the table. He's creative. He's a genius, and that's why I like this. He's not going to be boring. He's not going to be bland. He's not going to be inconsistent as far as greatness goes. He's always going to be great. They're not going to water him down because we all know Kevin Owens is too good for that shit. So this is going to be awesome. This is going to be exciting, and WWE was in a position where they needed to shake things up desperately for Monday Night Raw. After how much heat it's been getting, how much negative feedback it's been getting compared to SmackDown, they would have embarrassed themselves if they had done something completely stupid last night. And I think they knew that. I think that they were motivated in making the right decision last night, knowing that their show was in jeopardy, that their show was in trouble because of the fact that SmackDown every week was getting praise and Raw wasn't, and SmackDown's ratings are improving and Raw's aren't, they're going down. And even though SmackDown is not beating Raw in the ratings war yet, SmackDown's numbers are raising every week. They're rising. And that's a good sign for them because maybe 2 or 3 years from now, they will start beating Raw in the ratings, depending on how good that show stays consistently. But Raw's ratings seem to have kept going down and tanking, and they needed to do something to change the atmosphere and shake things up. And this was it. This was the only thing that they could have done, period. Kevin Owens becoming champion was the only thing they could have done. They had to give us a shocking factor last night. They had to deliver in terms of controversy, in terms of shock value, and just in terms of buzz. There was no way last night's Raw could have ended without a swerve, without a shock. Whether it was Kevin Owens becoming champ, somebody turning heel, like maybe a Roman Reigns or a double turn, or something. Something had to go down to change the landscape for the WWE, especially for Monday Night Raw. And that's why Kevin Owens being champ is brilliant. This leaves us with so many questions. We're left guessing what's going to happen next. And this is awesome. It's been a long time since we could say that we look forward to just more than one thing heading into next week's Monday Night Raw. And let's face it, there is more than one thing to be talked about right now, because as much as it is Kevin Owens being champion, a great thing it is, we also have to be concerned with what's going to happen with Triple H now that he's back. And is Seth Rollins a babyface or is he still a heel? The situation unfolding between Triple H and Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon. It seems like they have some tension, as Stephanie and Mick Foley seem like they had no idea Triple H was going to do what he did. So there's that dispute, that debacle, and who knows what's going to go down between those guys. There's a lot of different angles right now going on that they have to tell a story with next week. And this is all going to lead up to something good. I hope it makes for great entertainment. I hope they give us a great explanation for all of this. There's a lot of stuff they have to cover next week for Monday Night Raw, and I hope they specify on every detail. They come at us with different directions, and they give us another shock next week. Because this is not just about the championship now and who's the champion. This is also about the state of Monday Night Raw. It seems like there's a power struggle after Foley, Steph, and Triple H had a dispute. And Seth Rollins is conflicted. He doesn't know who to trust now since Triple H and the authority was all he had. So there's that story to tell. But I don't think Seth Rollins, you can call him a babyface yet, because this is the same guy who took advantage of the situation last night and Triple H assisting him, pedigreeing Roman Reigns and taking advantage of it and pinning Roman Reigns. He basically screwed him over. That's not a face thing. And yes, even though Triple H screwed Seth Rollins over and turned on him, I still don't think that's a face turn, because Rollins still did some dirty shit too. He did some dirty laundry as well. So they have to really be specific in terms of what they're going to do with Seth Rollins. And if they do end up turning him babyface out of this, let it progress naturally. Tell a story with it. Don't just in one night turn this guy babyface, because it would absolutely make no sense to me. I like consistency and I want to see where this is going. So don't just turn him babyface because, Triple H turned his back on him. No, that's not a good story. Let it build up to that first. So it just wouldn't make any sense for Seth Rollins to come out of nowhere next week, think he's entitled, and then the fans get behind him and all of a sudden he's a good guy. That would suck. And now, speaking of Seth Rollins, I actually want to talk about everything that happened before last night and what the state of Monday Night Raw was, basically all throughout the summer, heading into SummerSlam, and even last week after SummerSlam. I just want to say I told you guys so. I was right. I was 100% right in everything that I said leading up to SummerSlam, during SummerSlam, and after SummerSlam, in terms of how horrible it was for WWE to decide that Finn Balor was going to main event one of their top 4 core pay-per-views, SummerSlam, against Seth Rollins. That was the worst idea in the history of ideas. This went down as the worst SummerSlam ever in the books in WWE history. And I'm not saying this is Finn Balor's fault. I'm saying this is WWE's fault because I knew this was coming. You all should have known that this was going to lead to disappointment for Finn Balor because he just simply wasn't ready yet. He just got called up to the main roster. He was brand new, and they put too much stock into this guy right away. They relied heavily on him right away. They put too much on his plate. For a guy that just got called up to the main roster and was in NXT for more than a year, you want to put the title on this guy, give him all the pressure, all the spotlight in one night for all to come crashing down on him. I mean, what did WWE expect was going to happen? That's exactly what was going to happen. Because this is what happens when you rush things, when you take risks. I mean, I like risks, but this was the stupidest risk ever. Finn Balor was clearly not ready. He wasn't prepared to be a champion. He wasn't championship material yet. He wasn't main event material yet. What, just because he's talented and he's a good wrestler, he gets a pass, and you're going to put the title on him? No! This guy, again, this is another guy that they needed to let develop, to build up, before he even got to main event status. But they did the complete opposite. And that's what happens when you rush things. It doesn't turn out the way you want it to, and it wasn't meant to be. That's why Finn Balor is sidelined with an injury right now. And I'm not saying I'm glad he's sidelined with an injury, but sometimes WWE needs to learn a lesson. And I think this was a blessing in disguise for a guy like Finn Balor. And maybe this will turn out to be better for him when he comes back, and they have something better for him in the future. And maybe this transforms him. You know, maybe he becomes better out of this. I don't know. But the bottom line is, Finn Balor wasn't ready for SummerSlam. He just wasn't ready. It wasn't his time. It was never supposed to be his time anyway. I mean, I think the only reason he got this push was because they were punishing Roman Reigns, right? I mean, remember, Finn Balor beat Roman Reigns on Raw to get to that title shot, to that title opportunity. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Roman Reigns hadn't been suspended, and if he didn't violate the wellness policy, it would have been Roman Reigns main eventing at SummerSlam against Seth Rollins, which was rightfully so. You know, that's what they should have done. That's what they should have gone with. I don't know why WWE was so afraid. Next time they should have had the balls and go along with it. Fuck it. Who cares what the WWE audience thinks? Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins would have been a hell of a main event for SummerSlam. But because they don't listen and because they like to panic, they put the title on the wrong guy. And that's what ended up happening. Finn Balor gets hurt, and WWE has nobody but themselves to blame for his injury because he wouldn't be injured right now if he wasn't in that position. If he didn't face Seth Rollins, he would still be healthy right now because apparently the plan was supposed to be him facing Chris Jericho. And Jericho is by far one of the safest workers WWE has right now. So he would have never been injured against Chris Jericho. But they put too much pressure on the guy. They give him the main event, and this is what happens. They should have known that this was questionable because brand new guys who are inexperienced, who have never been in the spotlight before, who have never been in such a big stage before, that's what tends to happen. They either get hurt or something goes wrong because WWE invested too much stock into them. And that's what happened with Finn Balor. I mean, I was saying it. I was saying it on PWF Empire for weeks. And it was a depressing time to be a wrestling fan, in my opinion, because on paper, that was probably the worst main event I had ever seen written for WWE in terms of a match card. That was the headline. Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. A match that sounds like a mid-card match to me. That's what was main eventing SummerSlam. And then we all saw how shit that match turned out to be anyway, as the fans crapped all over it and didn't even care about their performance. They cared more about venting about how ugly that championship looks rather than supporting Finn Balor. That goes to show you the amount of interest that was built in terms of us, the fans, looking forward to this match. Because I know I wasn't looking forward to it. And I knew right from the bat that this match wasn't going to be the main event at SummerSlam. I was also saying it for weeks, how it was going to be Brock Lesnar facing Randy Orton being the main event at SummerSlam. You were stupid to think that wouldn't be the main event. You think they're going to let Finn Balor, a guy that hasn't even proven he's a top draw yet, main event SummerSlam, one of their biggest pay-per-views? Are you kidding me? So this is what happens. WWE learned their lesson, but they fixed their mistake. They cleaned it up by putting the title on Kevin Owens, who probably should have been in that position Finn Balor was in it. Because if you were to tell me that there should have been an alternative to Roman Reigns, it should have been Kevin Owens, not Finn Balor. Owens was on the main roster for a while now, right? He's one of the best things WWE has going for them on television. So why didn't they consider Kevin Owens facing Seth Rollins at SummerSlam? And I also pointed this out, but how do they expect for me to take Finn Balor seriously, even if he beat Seth Rollins, which he did, even if he beat Seth Rollins at SummerSlam? How do they expect for me to take this guy seriously and for me to say, oh, he's solidified, he's officialized on the main roster because he beat Seth Rollins? That wasn't going to do it for me. And you want to know why? It's a good explanation. They were supposed to tell the comeback story of Seth Rollins, right? Because when he came back, the story was going to be that they were going to build up Seth Rollins to this big push. He was going to get the title back, the title that he never lost. He was gonna get his title back, go through the journey, go through the pains, go through the struggles to get the title, and then eventually he was going to become the man. Well, that didn't happen. They flopped on that angle. They actually dropped that storyline, in my opinion, and I think that's what happened. They dropped the storyline after Roman Reigns got suspended, and they decided not to even make Seth Rollins the focal point anymore. And he was supposed to be the focal point, right? There was all this talk that Seth Rollins was eventually going to transform into this huge, huge baby face that was going to be one of the biggest and the most popular baby faces WWE had in a long time. Seth Rollins was going to get the title back. He was going to claim what was rightfully his, right? Rebuild, redesign, reclaim, or whatever it was. Well, guess what? He never did. He never reclaimed. He never rebuilt. He never did any of that. Instead, what they did was they made Seth Rollins be exactly what he was last year, the same old generic, boring heel character when he started feuding with Finn Balor. They said, fuck that idea of Seth Rollins being the champ as the babyface. We have to tell a story here with Finn Balor. We have to get Finn Balor over. Yeah, WWE? Well, how are you going to get Finn Balor over with the crowd and with everybody if you couldn't even get Seth Rollins over? And he's still not over. He's not the man yet, as much as they think he is, or they would like to think that he is. They never legitimized Seth Rollins. They never transformed Seth Rollins. They never put him at a pedestal to say we can respect this man and that he's untouchable. In order for me to have taken Finn Balor seriously, they had to put the torch on Seth Rollins first. They had to give Seth Rollins a torch. And guess what? That torch was never given to him. So he never passed it on to Finn Balor. He never did. And that's why, even though Finn Balor became champion, it didn't impress me. Because they couldn't even finish one story. How the hell did they expect to start a new one? They had to finish the story with Seth Rollins first to then tell another story with Finn Balor. And that's the bottom line. And I'll leave it at that because that's obviously what happened here. And again, I was right. I told everybody that Finn Balor being champ was no good. But this is a blessing in disguise because we have Kevin Owens as champ now. And when Finn Balor comes back, maybe then he'll be ready. And maybe then WWE may just have bigger plans for the guy. But until then, we have a lot of things to look forward to here in WWE. Finn Balor is sidelined, but we have Kevin Owens as a champ. And maybe now they get it right with Roman Reigns. Maybe now they get it right with Seth Rollins. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully Raw stays good every week, not just for 1 week, because WWE is known for doing that, exciting us for 1 week, and then the next week it goes back to shit. But these are exciting times to be a wrestling fan, because Monday Night Raw finally has buzz again. And at a time, by the way, in which WWE never really tries and never gives their effort to go all out in terms of excitement during the year. We're heading into September. These are supposed to be the dead months for wrestling, the dead months for WWE, where there's not much going on, right? Well, right now it's the complete opposite of that, because it feels like It's WrestleMania season. It feels like it's summer season in the sense that exciting shit is going down. So that's noteful there to take light of.